Hello and welcome to the Cradle Bites, where we bring you the latest from West Asia. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am the head of news for the Cradle. I'm joined by Sima Itaim, social media manager and content creator for the Cradle. And today we bring you news from Beirut, where an Israeli warplane just leveled a residential building south of the capital in the suburb of Dahye, killing at least 8 people, wounding at least 59 in yet another escalation from the Israeli government against Lebanon just days after these terror attacks that saw the killing of dozens and the wounding of thousands. So, Sima, why don't you walk us through some of the facts of what just happened like an hour ago, right?
Right. So all of these are all initial reports. From what I understand, they've leveled two buildings. It was an F-35 that dropped at least 2 or 3 missiles, and search operations are ongoing. The number is expected to rise. This comes 2 days after the terror attacks that we saw across Lebanon. And one day after Hassan Nasrallah's speech that was addressing that wave of terror attacks that saw the explosion of pagers and walkie-talkies. So, according to Israeli media and Israeli army radio, the target of the assassination is Ibrahim Ail. We have they're saying it's not clear whether he was assassinated or not. A source told me that they are still looking for his body, but this is another massacre. It's confirmed that there were women and children in the building. This is a bigger massacre than the massacre that took place to assassinate Sayyid Fuad Shukr. And in fact, as far as I understand, Ibrahim Ail has been around for a long time. Is a very important member, took Fuad Shukr's place. He is the head of the Radwan force, the elite force of Hezbollah, and the top military commander. So he is reportedly the target. Now, Israeli media says it's not clear if the operation to assassinate him was successful, where meanwhile Saudi media, which usually is the partner of Israeli media, says that the operation was successful. So we have conflicting sources, but this number will rise. This is not going to be like an 8 people. This could go up to over 20 people. Some have said over 40 victims. We don't know yet. So the issue is that it seems clear to me that they are trying to force a response through this escalation, and they have, as we already know, announced that they will have Lebanon as their main focus now, and that they will triple their attacks, and their focus now is Hezbollah, as the Israelis have said. This comes also after hundreds of rockets were fired this morning at Israeli sites in the occupied Galilee and Golan Heights, including Safad, and several bases and kibbutzes, it seems, but mainly military bases. So, of course, the White House claims that they had no prior knowledge.
As they like to do, as they like to do.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, the initial, bombing Beirut, again, horrific scenes coming out. We can't know what else is going on right now.
And even the time of the day, this is the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
This is when kids are coming home from school.
Yeah.
And something that I want to highlight, for our listeners, is that Israeli media is quoting the officials as saying that as far as Lebanon goes, there are no longer any red lines. And well, I think that this is something that we already witnessed this week, right? With the dual terror attacks, and now today with this horrible bombing, we're for sure gonna see many more dead, many more injuries. This was, as you were saying, a residential building. And Hezbollah apparently launched almost an immediate response. I was seeing that less than an hour after the building was leveled, there were hundreds of rockets fired towards the north. Overnight was a very, very heavy, a very intense night of attacks from both sides. The Metula settlement, according to reports, was dealt massive destruction. This is what the Israelis were saying. In the south of Lebanon, they were talking about over 100 strikes or something along those lines. So there's really no going back, right? Even during Hassan Nasrallah's speech yesterday, as we were covering it in our offices, we could hear the sonic booms, the Israeli jets breaking the sound barrier. That this part of psychological warfare. What does Israel hope to achieve by this? What does Israel hope to achieve
Israel,
by what they
Israel
did this week and what they did today?
Israel's trying to force a response, and Israel wants one strong response from Hezbollah to use as a pretext for more major actions against Lebanon. This is what is clear to me. And yeah, there are a lot of rockets being launched right now towards Israeli sites, like as we speak. But yeah, I mean, this is there was one. It's definitely clear that this is what they want, and reports are also saying, that Hezbollah is going to have to look for new means in how to deal with this and how to respond. We know that Israel is trying to drag Hezbollah into something larger. Again, as I've mentioned previously, I don't know if they want a full-scale war or if they need, a pretext for something larger so that they can, according to them, achieve their war goals. But I don't understand how these assassinations achieve the war goals. Once again, as was also reiterated by Hassan Nasrallah yesterday, and a political official said that the pace of operations will make it difficult for Hezbollah not to respond. According to
Exactly, I mean,
yeah.
we already saw the Lebanese foreign minister yesterday. We did a bite about this, about him saying we as the Lebanese state cannot ask Hezbollah for restraint after these horrible attacks rocked our country. After today, you would imagine there's even less, right? There was an interview, a very interesting interview that I also want to point our listeners to in the Times, in the Times of not of London, I'm sorry, of the UK Times, um with the Lebanese ambassador to Britain, talking about how do not expect the Lebanese army to stand idly by if Israel launches a ground invasion, which seems to be the design, right? What Israel has been signaling is that they want to enter the south, push Hezbollah beyond the Litani River, which is, a Resolution 1701. This is what UNIFIL, the UN interim forces in Lebanon, have been talking about for months at this point. This is what the West keeps talking about. Now, Israel, when they talk about no more red lines and the center of gravity moves to the north, this is what they want, right? But they have to understand what it means, not just in the terms of fighting Hezbollah, as we already saw in 2006 when they were, defeated and sent back home. But now you have Yemen, right? You have Yemen saying we will enter the fray if Israel launches a ground invasion into Lebanon. You have Iraq saying the same, the Iraqi resistance factions, and you have everything that all of the factions active in Syria. So in my view, this is simply the Israelis wanting to force Washington's hands. They want the U.S. to come in and fight this war for them, because alone they cannot fight this
No.
war. Or am I wrong?
And look, I mean, it seems throughout this war that the U.S. has not been able to exert pressure on Israel. We had a report recently, remind me who it was by, that the Pentagon is worried that Israel will launch a ground invasion into Lebanon, as if that's something that's out of Washington's hands. I mean, this is something up for debate. But what I wanted to say is that, whether we've seen restraint from Hezbollah. We know that Hezbollah doesn't want an all-out war. We know that Iran would rather not have an all-out regional war. And so if this restraint is being mistaken for weakness, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a defeatist, but Israel will push the limits because it knows that it can get away with whatever it wants. So it's like, which one is it? Is Israel doing this because it's confident it will be able to drag Hezbollah into a wider scale war, or is it doing this because it has a list of things that it needs to carry out and it knows that it won't receive a severe enough response because the other side is understandably so practicing restraint? I mean, it's a frustrating situation. So I don't know which one it is. I mean, will they manage to force things to the next level or not?
Well, and I do think it's worth highlighting, right? Like you only need to look at the amount of attacks that have happened over the past 11 months. We have plenty of, we even have reports at the Cradle. There's been plenty of analysis that over 80% of the cross-border attacks at the Israel-Lebanon border are carried out by Israel.
Correct.
Israel is the larger aggressor in this war, in the same way that they are the significantly more violent aggressor in Gaza or in the West Bank. Israel doesn't have and has never had any red lines. We know that. There's no more question about it. There's no concern for civilian lives. And I think the West is finally unmasking in a way by showing us with the response to what happened in Lebanon this week, right? Not just, let's put what happened today aside for a moment because it's still fresh. We still haven't seen the responses, although we can pretty much, assume what they're going to be. But after the terror attacks this week with the pagers and the walkie-talkies, the West was talking about this as if it was, some very clever, imaginative intelligence operation. Like, oh my God, look at how smart the Mossad is about doing this. They don't talk about a terrorist operation. They don't talk about a terror attack targeting civilians. What Israel did this week is what ISIS will do. This is exactly the ISIS modus operandi. And then, that brings us to the question of why has ISIS never really attacked Israel? And I think all of our listeners already know the
Yeah,
answer to that
for
one.
sure.
So the war, the expansion of the war aims, right? The war aim from Israel is the safe return of the settlers to the north. How can they guarantee their safety, right? We've already seen, again, let's go back to Gaza. Gaza is flattened. Gaza, it looks like the surface of the moon. The resistance is still there. The resistance is still fighting. They're still killing Israeli soldiers. They're still launching raids.
Yeah, look,
In Lebanon, how is it going to be different?
no, I don't know. It's not going to be different. But I can't tell if I just we had reports that they wanted to wage a war in Lebanon before 7 October. So really, I don't know what the goals are. Is this for Netanyahu's political survival? Does Netanyahu really want say that he just wants to return the settlers to the north, but actually want to wage a full-out war on Lebanon and try again to dismantle the resistance as they did in 2006? I don't know what they want to do. I think also it's worth recalling our feature from a while back, that Israel's not crazy, it's just mad, like for a look into the strategy.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think that like it's very telling, like at this time, to look back at that feature. So yeah, if our viewers haven't read it yet, they could check it out because it's interesting. I really like this. Just I don't know. I'm still kind of overwhelmed right now. So
No, we all are. We all are. This is a very difficult week, a very difficult day,
yeah,
and it doesn't look like it's gonna get any
no,
easier because, as you're saying, Israel has this strategy of being the mad dog, right? Of being unpredictable, of being willing to do anything, and politically, it may be working for them, right? It may be working for the Israeli government. It may be working for Benjamin Netanyahu, who should have already left power months ago, just over popular pressure. But he's managed to hold on this long. The U.S. election is in a few weeks. We already know the White House is saying there's not going to be any ceasefire deal. We have absolutely no hope for it. So Netanyahu is here to stay at least for a while longer, doing this mad dog strategy.
yeah.
But in the end of the day, politically, okay, fine, you have this survival. But your country is going to be in shambles. Your economy is in the toilet, and your fighting force, the most moral army in the world, right? They don't even want to fight anymore. They want to go back home. They are spent after 11 months of killing Palestinians indiscriminately.
Yeah, so it's as far as the numbers I'm seeing, it's still 8 deaths and at least 59 wounded, and search operations are ongoing because this is not just 2 buildings that have been leveled, but there are shops also downstairs. It's a lot of destruction. So let's see, what happens with that. And I also see Barak Ravid, the Israeli journalist who always comes out with all these scoops, saying a senior Israeli official said that Israel had reached the conclusion that it would not be possible to resolve the situation on the northern border without escalation, and therefore decided to preemptively increase attacks against Hezbollah. All right,
This is not going to make anyone safer. This is not
right.
going to make
So
anyone
anyway.
safer. Thank you for joining us today, and make sure to follow us on all of our channels, to check out our Patreon, and to share, to like, and subscribe this video, and we'll see you next time.